everyone, I'm Wendy Castle, dietitian and owner of One Bite Nutrition. So excited to have Nikki Bomar here with us. We've got a quick little brief talk about high protein snacks. You know, protein has always been a highly talked about subject. It seems like it's even more popular right now. And there's no more discussion about it, especially around snacking. Since it's such a hot topic, let's talk a little bit more about it today and give you some tips and tricks. So, Nikki, why is protein needed?
So I definitely agree with that. I hear questions about this probably at least once a week. Protein is one of our three macronutrients, so it is very important. The practical ways that you need it in like your daily life is going to be keeping us fuller longer. It helps our muscles repair and grow. It also helps manage blood sugars. Adding protein to your meals can also help slow the digestion of those carbohydrates, and that's how we get that effect of the managing our hunger and the blood sugar functions. If you're, often hungry right soon after you eat those meals, then it's probably a good idea to take a look at the balance of the meal or snack that you just ate.
Absolutely. Being a diabetes care and education specialist, this is something that I talk to with almost all of my clients and patients is, whether you have diabetes or not, everybody's has a blood sugar and their blood sugar manages their appetite. And so that's something that you have to pay attention to. So even though it says helps manage blood sugar, I mean, that's true for anybody, even if you don't have diabetes. So when you're looking at protein amounts for snacks, like how much protein are you looking for in a snack size?
Yeah, so to be considered high protein, we want to see at least 7 grams of protein. But I feel like most of them tend to have like 10, 15. That tends to be more of a like realistic range for most people to get. The exact number you need is also going to be determined by by your dietitian can help you with that. Um, but also a lot of times we don't like to focus on like down to the exact gram of protein per each meal or snack. But just be sure to talk to your dietitian about your composition of that meal or your snack and then the timing of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I tell some of my patients as just kind of a quick tip and trick, you can just glance at a label and know, is try to keep the grams of carb and the grams of protein the same. It helps you self-restrict the carbs, but get enough protein at that meal. So if there's, 15 grams of carb at that snack, trying to get 7 to 15 grams of protein is a kind of a good balance. And you can glance at the label really quickly without having to do math and look at different things. So, um, yeah. So, there's a lot of just talk about protein, and there's a lot of myths, some stuff that's not true about protein. So, what are some of the common myths that you hear about protein?
Yeah, those myths definitely come from everywhere, especially now with social media being so prevalent. We're constantly hearing something about protein, and it doesn't always come from qualified sources. One of the biggest myths I hear is probably that the more protein I eat, the more muscle I'm going to gain. So I want to talk about this one along with another one that okay, only a max of usually they say 30 grams of protein is utilized by the body at one singular time.
Mhm.
The truth is somewhere in between here, right? So while the more protein, the better isn't necessarily true, our body can utilize more than that 30-gram amount, but there is still some threshold there to, okay, if I still have too much than this, it's still going to be excreted by my body. That's why we have to kind of, again, balance it out and we'll be okay there. I would say another myth is like those incomplete proteins, and I think we talked about this in one video too, so don't want to go too far in depth into this, but that incomplete plant proteins don't matter, right? They don't count towards our protein. This could not be farther from the truth. If you want to know more about this, I would go look for our video on it or our blog on it. There's a lot of great information on there. I would say another one is just protein isn't just for athletes. This is a big one that we see. Um, Again, like I said, it's one of our macronutrients, so all of us need them. An athlete just might need more, or will need more than an average person for the day.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the jobs is, when you are working out a lot, you're tearing down your muscle, and the idea is to rebuild that. And we know athletes and people that do strength training are tearing that muscle, and so yeah, their protein needs might be a tad higher. Now, for the average person that's maybe not as strenuous in their activity, having too much protein really, your kidneys have to filter that out. So you don't want to strain your kidneys and have an overload of protein if you're not utilizing that. But yeah, talk to your dietitian, talk to one of us, and we can definitely try to come up with a solution of where we feel like you're at and what your needs might be. So with all that being said, what are some of your favorite high protein snacks?
Yeah, my favorite on the go options are probably like a jerky or a meat stick of some sort. And I also really like the roasted edamame. You can make it at home or you can like buy pre-made bags of it.
Mhm.
Items that take a little bit more planning, maybe like hummus and veggies or turkey and veggie pinwheels, something that you can kind of prep for the week and have available to you. Those are always my go-tos.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our favorites is string cheese. It's portable. Yeah, it's easy to eat. It's kid friendly. Hard-boiled eggs is another one that
Mhm.
you can make a batch at the beginning of the week and you could do tons of different things with it. So yeah, really, really great ideas. Thank you for sharing those. So talking to our audience, like who do you think could benefit from some of these protein tips?
Yeah, so kind of bringing it back to that myth, anybody could benefit from these tips, not just athletes or people who feel like they have to have a higher protein load. Right? There's tons of both pre-made and homemade options for you based on, the level of time you have, maybe our budget that we have. We have a whole high protein snack blog as well. There's great options on there. And then, of course, it goes into a little bit more on those myths and then our reasons for needing more protein.
Yeah, and as always, nutrition needs are personal to every single person. There's a set of guidelines that dietitians try to follow, but as nutrition experts, it's our job to tailor those to the individual person that we're seeing, and that can't be more of the truth. When you see a patient, you have to take what their daily life looks like, what their food budget is. How active they are. Do they have any chronic conditions? You're looking at a big picture and you're tailoring all these guidelines to meet that person's specific needs. So, yeah, if you're interested in any sort of one-on-one counseling, please just reach out. Our website's onebitenutrition.com. You can book directly on there, or you can message below and we'll reach out to you.